How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Empire. I'm joined by Shawn Ryder today. What is going on, Shawn? How are you?
Oh, my man, I am fired up, ready to go, a little bit anxious, nervous. I don't use those terms lightly. Had a good call with you yesterday about some potential changes, like a big change for me and my family. So I appreciate your time there yesterday. I think we're going to dive a little bit into that topic today. I don't want to be ominous and beat around the bush, but nothing's official yet. But we'll kind of talk about hypothetical scenarios and how you would go through mentoring someone through it. But before we get into that, how are you, man?
Oh man, living the dream. We've got family coming in today and tomorrow, maybe. My mom is coming down. My sister and brother-in-law are coming down for my son is turning 8 this weekend. So we are looking forward to that and trampoline park or something, I believe, and then all the stuff for him. So
My daughter
usually gets the shaft because it's so. What's that?
trampoline park. My daughter was asking to go to the trampoline park. We've never been, but she heard about one it's like a little over an hour away. And then my kids' godparents, me and Kate's good friends, brought gift cards over last night for this place. So of course my daughter wakes up this morning, is like, "Can we go?" It's like, "Sweetie, I'd love to just pick up. We got some stuff to do today. We got to plan that one out a little bit better. So maybe we'll be there in the next couple of days. It might take a week or two till we can get up an hour north, because you don't want to go and spend 30 minutes there. Like, you want to spend hours. So we got to plan like a whole half day. So I felt saying on the business with a daughter, especially, like, you don't want to tell her no. First thing in the morning, she gets into a fit because we tell her no trampoline park today. Anyways,
I can feel that. I've been being asked to take them to go ice skating for fucking a week. So, and I have just like, no, that's an undertaking. We have ice skating. There's even one place to outdoor ice skate.
okay.
Hey, we're Texans. We've got this shit down pat. We can make snow. We can do anything down here.
Somehow you guys learned how to freeze sand. Yeah, when I was growing up, I thought Texas was just all sand. Sandy tall boy. This is. Well, look, we've talked a lot about the year. We talked about how to plan for 2025. We talked about potential changes. One of those changes that people might make, let's say they have a spouse that owns a business, or they're an investor, or they have the bigger W-2 income job, and they have kids. But one of the other spouses supports the family, probably maybe has a good income, maybe doesn't, but they want a little bit more freedom. How do you go about deciding that a spouse should step away from a corporate career, or maybe take at least a year to see what they can do without that cushy, nice, guaranteed? I use guaranteed lightly, right? Because people can get by full time, but when you've been with the company for a long time, like, what are some factors? What are some thoughts? How do you help people bridge that gap? And maybe motivate's not the right word, because people have to make the decision when they're comfortable with the decision. But how do you help someone maybe focus in on actually making that decision, regardless of the feelings, emotions, scarcity, scared thoughts that creep in when someone steps away from something that's comfortable like that?
Yeah, I think this question has evolved a little bit in the last 10 years, especially because job security is not what it used to be in even in the corporate world. So like, while most people, and I speak from, I was in the corporate world for 18 years. So just putting context behind this, I worked for a Fortune 50 company for 18 years. of my life. So putting some context to what I'm saying, it's not all been real estate and businesses my entire life. I did them congruently, actually. And so like that was part of my jumping off point. I am not a burn the boats type guy. I've said that on numerous episodes. Just because I don't think that I could, in good faith, advise other people to do that when I don't see the bridge being made. There's a lot of coaches and mentors and shit out there that do that. And they're like, go in all in, chips in on yourself, blah, blah, blah. Me, I like to strategically have a plan to exit, and I like to have some side income coming in. I like I like an established thing rather than like, I'm going to quit on Friday and I'm going to start something brand new from zero revenue on Monday. Like that to me is a dangerous thing. And I definitely don't tell men with families to do that ever, because the stress that it causes, like you can burn the whole fucking house down doing that stuff. Like I'm not trying to be the wedge in between someone's marriage or anything like that. So strategically, I want you to have like a runway and not just money, but a plan. And and like, what is the plan? Do you have income sources of any kind? I mean, it could be anything. It could be investments, but like businesses are obviously like better if you're younger. Certainly. I mean, if you've got enough money invested, hell yeah, do it. Good. But like if you're 30 years old and you've got $50,000, like that's not going to, the interest on that is not going to carry you. And so you have to think about what you're going to do. The cool thing is, like when I talk about the landscape of the job market changing, I think jobs are more volatile than doing things yourself now. 100%, because the more control you can get over it, like let's just use an example. If I make 10 grand a month at a company where somebody else employs me and I'm having like performance reviews, and then they're budgeting on everything and they're looking at their payroll and they're looking to cut costs, or I make $4,000 in my side hustle by myself, like I'm really more comfortable with that $4,000 and taking that to like 8 than the $10,000 of working for an employer for 10, because like that 10 has me sweating always, because I know that it, like for me, I'm just a realist. Like most people go to work and they're like, everybody loves me, I'm a great performer, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've been around long enough to see the rubber meet the road, and like you don't matter. Um, and that's a fact. Or you get too expensive and they let you go. Like businesses are not much different than sports teams. Like you could have the fucking all-star of the league, but if he is at a price point where you see this in the NFL constantly because of salary caps and everything else. Like if I played 11 years and I'm guaranteed $22 million, I have now become too expensive because you can go get 6 of me at a lesser price to fill that deal. I mean, we kind of saw that this year in a different arena, quite frankly. And um, so
Are you talking like personal experience, Jeff Smith? Not, not. That's good shit.
I've seen that happen, but I also know because of being in the corporate world, the volatility of what that looks like. I mean, it takes one bad boss, it takes one bad performance cycle, it takes like any variety of things to happen until you're not as solidified in what you're doing as you think you are. I mean, honestly, that's where a lot of like the pursuit of control, the pursuit of financial freedom, the pursuit of everything that we teach and preach in the tactical empire came from, was me watching the life cycle of these people in the corporate world. And we would go through a year and we would get our annual reviews, we would get our bonuses, and then we would get a 3 to 6% raise, right? And everybody would be happy as fuck, and they'd go out and they'd buy their next 3 Series BMW lease. They would upgrade one fucking $100 a month on their car payment, and they would spend everything that they made, right? And it was just a recipe for like, they were fat and happy, like thinking this road was never going to end. The train was never going to stop, no matter what, right? And then you reach some hard economic times and the company returns some bad numbers. And then or they go into a completely different system and they bring in an external auditing team to restructure the organization. And just like any other organization, they're like, well, we can cut this entire division. And next thing you know, 500 people aren't employed, right? And so those are the same people that just took a couple $1,000 raise and were super happy with it, and were just looking towards the future to how much is my 401k going to be worth in 20 years, blah blah blah, and like thinking that all of these things were like afterthoughts and guarantees, when the reality of it was like, under the surface, if you were willing to kind of take off your rose-colored glasses, you knew that like the only people watching out for you and your family are you, and you need to plan for that, and you need to buffer yourself against all the things that you don't have the power to choose within. And so like the fact of the matter is, and as hard as this may sound to people, like if you work for anybody else, it is that person's decision whether you work there tomorrow or not. And like, and so, to be fair, like most people are good-hearted. They think that their relationships with people are going to save things. But at the end of the day, business is fucking, it's ruthless, and like it's a numbers game. And if the numbers don't work, it doesn't matter how much your relationship means in some cases. Or I've seen businesses that it's going to actually take them under. And so the owner has to make a decision to like part ways maybe with that person, or switch things up, right? Like it's just not financially feasible. And so like hard decisions have to be made every day in business, and people take that for granted to an extent. And most people that work for businesses just try to take as much as they can get out of their performance, and don't understand that there's a lot more involved in that decision making process, and nothing like I would be out there hustling and trying to figure out how to get my income up on my own, developing skills, developing side businesses, whether I was buying businesses or investing in other things to get my income up, to give me that safety and security of like, hey, we can still do this. We could still work this job. No problem. That's if, and then there's like a stress meter, right? And I hate my life meter. And so that meter is constantly toggling as you're building this outside income or these sources of income. And so like, and once that meter reaches a comfort point, like I said, like if you're making 10K a month at the job, and then you've got your investments or something else kicking off 4K, and you can see the path to get it to 8, like you have to understand that you're no longer a W-2 person if you take that leap. So you don't need as much money because your taxable income is going to change. Your tax rate is going to change. The write-offs that you have are going to change. So that 8 might be equivalent to the 10 or exceed the 10. So like that's where I think people don't understand all of that, and all of that goes into the planning. Like for me, like I would be as granular as I could be, but maybe that 4 needs to get to 4,500 before you'd feel really comfortable doing it. And then you see the path for 3 months or 6 months to hit the 8. And then, and you also have that runway of capital within your account or liquidity. Like we can live off of this for 1 year. If I went to 0 and we're not at 0, we're at 4,500 a month or whatever, right?
And my argument always too is like, if you've, like you said, thank you for clarifying, like not just going cold turkey, especially if you're married with kids, like going from your job to 0 and starting your next thing the day after you quit, having something already up and running. Like to use your numbers as an example, if you're making 10 and you can pull in 4 on the side, and that 4 came in without your full undivided attention, like you have to put some sort of utility number on what if I went full focus in this thing. That 4 is going to quickly go to 8 faster than I went from 0 to 4. And so that's the thing that sold me on 10 years ago or whatever it's been, leaving teaching to go full focus into my gym. So we're just in a different, going back to my family situation, we're in a different situation right now. We are established, married, have kids, we have businesses, we have investments. So we have that backstop. So for us, it's more of like a short term. And this is what we discussed with you yesterday, is like a short term play. If someone made a decision to walk away from a job, that short term potential, let me say potential financial monthly pain, but we have money to back it up. And like, I just don't see how, if we put full focus into one thing, that thing wouldn't grow faster, right? So having that sense of belief in yourself is super important. And sometimes, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but you have to tell yourself the right story. Like, do you trust in yourself? And I think you have to be your biggest cheerleader and say yes. And I just don't want to fast forward 5 years from now, having not made that decision, and then what you explained happens, right? You invest 5 more years into a company, that company maybe invests in you, but if the numbers aren't working, they will cut you off tomorrow, no matter how good you are. And then you lost 5 years of focus, growth in building your thing. And this is interesting too, because again, I'm trying not to give too many details, but like, my uncle 20 years ago actually worked for this same company that my wife does, and he was a top performer. And then one day, got fired. Top performer, got fired, right? And they'll find any reason to let people go. So it's real interesting. One thing I want to shift gears here on, Jeff, is like, what are people not thinking about on the potential positives outside of building the thing? And so let me clarify my question. Once someone takes that leap, especially if they're married, especially if they have kids, what are they going to gain for themselves, their marriage, and their kids that they may be missing because they're solely hyper focused on making the numbers work? What did you gain? Not only when you left corporate America, but when you left buildings, left, use that term loosely, left building someone else's business and went all in on building your own. What have you gained as a man and as a husband and as a father?
Just full autonomy. And like, I mean, it, I don't know. This one's a tough one because it's a level of pressure that I don't know that most people are ready from like, so there's that. But also, like, for me, I would never trade it like for anything, because the, the ability to do and dictate my schedule the way I want to, and do everything I want to with my kids. I mean, that's why we are fucking nomads at this point, because like, I want to be free to experience every single thing with my kids. And like, that's the thing that I tell people that work all the time, because like, if especially if you're working for somebody else, because like, and you've got to be careful on certain things. Like, if you're doing the $10,000 plus the $4,000, and you're just increasing your lifestyle spend to $13,000 a month, you're in a worse situation than otherwise. And so like, you have to understand that, and not let the lifestyle creep thing happen, because that will chain you up faster than anything else. But I think people miss out on ultimately, more than anything, they miss out on their children's life in their young age. I mean, we talk about that all the time in the group. Your kid's never gonna be 5 years old today ever again. So like, how are you spending your time today? Because you'll never get today back. And so most of us kind of go through the motions where we never get second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade back. And we've got these far out plans of like, we'll do this someday, or when we get to this number, we'll do that, or we're going to take this vacation someday. And at the end of the day, you don't ever do it before, because you're so conditioned to scarcity of like, well, we're not there yet. We need to have like a little more money in the bank account. We need to put a little more money in our 401k. And ultimately, I mean, a friend of ours died like 24 hours ago out of nowhere. He was like 50 something, 2, 3, something like that. Dropped dead, has kids, has grandkids, like, healthy dude. And so like, when you really think about like what you're giving up, you're potentially giving up all of it, like everything. And so like, at the end of the day, what would you trade it for? Most of us have like all these money goals. Other people don't, but like I think that like the time is what matters and is valuable. I say all the time that like I'm perfectly content like finding my way in developing my financial like position that I want to get to. Because I'm constantly strategizing and gaming how I can get to where I want to go because I still have lofty, lofty financial goals, but I also want to do it my way. And not from a control standpoint, just from a boundary standpoint. Like I am not willing to give up the next 10 years of my kid's life to go to $300 million, right? You could come to me right now with an opportunity and say, hey, here's what you're going to do. I'll put $300 million in your bank account right now, but you're going to fly 36 weeks a year, Monday through Friday. I wouldn't do it. So like, and so I think where people get lost is they just don't see the value in themselves and they're like, I could never do it. But like what they have to understand is like, if one man can do it, one family can do it, you can do it. Like you guys just have to figure out your way that works for you. And like, it's not rocket science. It's just like getting clarity on what you want. And nobody that works for anybody else has any idea what the fuck they want because they are serving the master constantly. Like we're serving the government to get the government their money. And then at the next level, we're serving our bosses or our employers to make sure we're not on their shit list, or when the budget hits at the end of the year, that when we need to eke out another $100,000, that they're looking at the chopping block of who's there and you aren't the first one on there. And like all that does is shift focus on like what you want. Like, maybe I want to go take a month off. Maybe I want to go travel with my family. Maybe I want to do X, Y, and Z. And most people, when they hear that it's so out of the realm of possibility for them, they're like, yeah, he can do that, but I could never do that. And I'm not just talking about living in an RV. There's a lot of people that couldn't do that. It's too small. But I mean, like the freedom of like, what if we took living in an RV to living in like a luxury Airbnb a month at a time, 12 different Airbnbs in a year?
Yeah. Now you're speaking my love language, man. I totally agree with you on the, like, seriously, I don't think if someone, some people will call me stupid. Like if someone handed me $3 million and said I had to be away from my family more than I was with them this year, like it's not worth it to me. I want to work what's in our control to build the backstop that we need. So my goal is to not retire at 65 and then take my vacations like very, very soon. And we kind of do this because we bought Airbnb so we can go vacation. Like I want to be able to go book an Airbnb in some other country for a month. We have not done that yet as a family, but that is certainly a goal, especially if we're not tied to a corporate company at all. That will happen next year or two, ideally. So you're speaking my love language, man. Obviously, everyone's situation is completely different. If you have the backstop and you can take the short-term hit on the income, cool. If you don't have the backstop of the assets and cash flow from other sources that aren't corporate, you might have to put together a little bit more of a plan and wait on your time, and then make that best decision when the time is right. But man, I've seen people in all sorts of situations. It's interesting when we go through it ourselves and just need to mentor ourselves or get mentorship from you or other members of the group for that reinforcement. So I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to send the people on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we can teach you how to do. Like you come to us, we will coach you one-on-one all the way through the entire framework of what you want to execute on. And like I said, it's not going to be bullshit. We're not going to tell you to like rip the Band-Aid off and go scorched earth. And we certainly wouldn't do anything that is like detrimental to your family, because ultimately that's not what you're trying to create. We would lay out a vision for you 3 to 5 years down the road. Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? And then go backwards from that. Like, where do we need to take your finances? What do investments need to look like? What kind of asset classes do you need to get involved in? Like, do you need, because there's nothing wrong with buying a business, even if you're going to work in it, and just like becoming your own boss and stepping into that. rather than working for someone else, because then there's a pathway. Then we can build the processes and put the people in place so that you can go where you want to go. So like, I mean, like that's a stepping stone as well. Like, okay, I make 100 grand working for someone else. Can I buy a business where I could make 100 grand if I sit at the front desk the whole time? Like that can be that bridge that you're looking for sometimes too. So, I mean, like guys, like literally we are like, I think this is one of my superpowers is like strategy to like lay out the framework for you to live the life that you want to live and then like how to fast track it. Because I think a lot of people just have blind spots naturally. That's why we ask for help. That's why we get coaches from other people. That's why we get third party perspectives. Because like one thing that you mentioned in here is like you think you've got a business and you're gonna like if you dedicate your time to it, where could you take that business? If you dedicate full time and full resources to it, right? Most people that are asking that question have established businesses that have been around for a long time and don't have necessarily the growth upside that you're talking about that you've got at your disposal because you've got you've got a business that's in its infancy of growth cycle. So it's not as much pie in the sky. Like if I took a 15-year business and I was like, I'm going to go triple that revenue this year because I'm going to step in there for fucking 20 more hours a week. Like that's a little dicier, right? We've seen that happen and it not go that way. Like, but like what you're talking about is like, I've seen a business with 0 P&Ls that's got a base to it that has exponential growth potential that yes, if I go spend some more time in there, like who knows, the sky's the limit. You might be able to triple that business in a year. And it's not necessarily, I mean, I really think that that's realistic. And like from an advantage standpoint, you've got a different vantage point. So that said, hit us up if you want us to walk you through a strategy session. We can help you with stuff like that. Follow us on the YouTube channel, Tactical Empire. We've got tons of content out there if you want to dig into it about all this stuff, educational content. Shoot Shawn or I a message if you're interested in getting into their inner circle. We're looking for more people, and it's a great group of people that'll support you through winning and doing exactly what we kind of laid out here on this episode, like the pursuit of more freedom for you and your family. It's not necessarily designed to step out of W-2 income, but we can certainly walk you right through that. So let us know and have a kick-ass week, and we will talk to you soon.